right, what was that from? Rocky? Okay, cool. Let's try another one. Just shout it out when you know.
Indiana Jones.
Okay, one more. What? James Bond. I heard it. Okay. Thank you. All right, so notice how you all recognize these movies just through their music. You didn't need any visual aids. It was just the theme. Music has a bigger role in movies than you think. 2 years ago, around this time, I was sitting in an AMC theater, an icy in one hand and a popcorn in the other, and I was awaiting a movie of a lifetime. There was buzzing all through the theater talking about how this movie will go down in history. And then the lights went dark, and a hush fell over the crowd. And then this came on. Everyone was excited. Even I was excited. I had this sense of adventure, nostalgia, and joy. And I couldn't help but wonder, why does a logo bring up all of this, just a logo on a screen, bring up all of this joy? And then I got to thinking, maybe it's the music. So for my presentation, I thought I would study how music affects people while they're watching movies. I wanted to know why a soundtrack and a logo could make someone jump out of their seats and scream or cry. That crying man was my father. All right, so let's dive in. Oh, wrong way. Okay. Before music was actually a part of film, it was still used in a more practical sense. When the first of projector technology was very loud and clingy, and it would distract the viewer from what was actually happening on the screen. So instead of having them listen to that, they would play music over that sound to drown it out and keep the viewer, make it easier for the viewer to pay attention to the actual movie. So music has always been a part of film, except when it first started, it was more used in a practical sense, since the first of film had no audio. Later on, music was incorporated as a plot device to portray emotions and character, emotions and character development. At New York University, there was an experiment with the stress-inducing scenes called "It Didn't Have to Happen." It was to study the psychological effects of music during stress-inducing scenes. There were 60 people involved, and those 60 people were split into three groups of 20. One watching the movie with horror music, another 20 watching it with no music, and the last 20 watching it with documentary music. So the results were the horror music caused the most stress, the documentary caused some anxiety, but not as much as the horror, and the no music caused little to no stress throughout the participants. This shows that music has a large role in what you feel while you're watching the movies. So when I was analyzing movies for this project, I noticed some thrillers use music as a tool to cause stress, like the study did. For example, Close Encounters of a Third Kind uses string instruments. It starts with a black screen, and then this one long, strung-out string instrument sound that gets louder and louder gets cut, and then it cuts to this white screen really abruptly. And this caused people to jump out of their seats. So we will listen to that beginning. Just think of how it makes you feel. Pretty spooky, huh? When this was in the screen, all that happened was when that abrupt sound changed, it changed from black to white, and people were jumping out of their seats. I saw Ian's face, and it said it all. So this shows that just with very limited visual aids, music caused all of the emotion during this. However, no music can be just as powerful as music, if used correctly. The Babadook is a psychological horror where a mother and son is terrorized by a monster. This movie has no music, but that does not necessarily make it bad. Having no music contributed to the uncomfortable feeling that the movie wanted to portray and the overall eeriness that it had. So no music wasn't necessarily a bad thing if done purposely. If you just didn't do it because you're lazy, your movie might be a little rough around the edges. Now, the other way music affects a story plot is through character development. So, of course, I have to come back to Star Wars. John Williams was through Star Wars, John Williams was one of the first conductors to incorporate character themes where one music theme is constantly shown with one character. For example, our main protagonist, Luke Skywalker, is always portrayed with the Force theme. And I will play a little bit of that for you. So this is always shown when the good guys are on the screen and the light is showing, and when Luke is on the screen. So then the viewers want to accept that character as the good character. But then it also shows character development in Anakin. When Anakin first becomes a part of the dark side, he is shown with the Imperial's theme. When before that, he was always shown with the Force theme. Here is the Imperial March. When Anakin first was called Lord Darth Vader in the movie, that song came on. It was in a lesser tone. It was just the notes dun 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 dun. And then it cut out, and that showed that he has now taken the step to the dark side. Whether music is being used to portray character or emotion, it always has a purpose. Music has been a part of film since it was first invented. However, in today's world, it isn't here just to keep you from getting distracted. So next family movie night, I'd like you guys to sit down and take note of the music, and you might actually be surprised on how it affects you. Thank you.